A very, very good evening to all of you once again, and welcome back to your NEET Bytes. Myself, Asha, and I hope so. You people are doing good, fine, so that we can begin our session. So, uh, everyone, if you all remember from last Monday, we were talking about plant kingdom, and especially there we talked about algae and bryophytes, right, everyone? So, moving slightly ahead from that topic or in that topic, today we are going to talk about two very important groups of plant kingdom, that is pteridophytes and gymnosperms. So today, first of all, we'll try and understand that what are pteridophytes and gymnosperms, okay, and then try to do some of the questions related to this topic. So first of all, everyone, pteridophytes. If you all remember, last to last class, I was talking about the classification of plant kingdom, and there we have classified pteridophytes into cryptogams, basically. Now, these are those plants which have vascular tissues, but they do not form seed, right, everyone? They do not form seed. Okay, whereas gymnosperms can, but their seed is not covered in the ovary, or you can say their ovule is not covered in the ovary, so their seed was not covered by a fruit. It's very important, everyone. Please try and understand. Life cycle will definitely discuss, okay, right? It's a topic that requires more than half an hour, everyone. Okay, it's not so simple to understand, right? So that I'll do definitely, as I promised, I'll definitely do. But because first of all, we need to do some of the basic questions from this topic which has been asked in a previous examination. Okay, try to understand, try to do that, and then we'll go into the life cycle process. Fine, all right. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'll do talk about at the end of the class when time remains. I'll give you slight hint of it, but it's a very big topic to explain, and that I'll explain you in a separate class. Fine, all right. Now, everyone. So you try and understand the difference between pteridophytes and gymnosperm. Okay, pteridophytes are cryptogams. They cannot produce seed. Okay, right. They are vascular plants, but they cannot produce seeds. Okay, right. Whereas gymnosperms are vascular plants, but they can produce seed as well. The only difference from gymnosperm to angiosperm is that they do not have ovary. Yes, everyone, and thus they are not producing fruit. All right, everyone. Great. So let's move a little further into our question. So from the very basic question, will you can say naked seed. So ready, all of you? So we'll start from this particular question, all of you. So it says again, okay, which of the following is found in algal zone of cycas coralloid roots? Okay, which of the following is found in algal zone of cycas coralloid roots? A, blue-green algae, B, red algae, C, diatoms, and D, brown algae. Okay. Now, so I'll wait for your answers, everyone. Let's see. And yes, people are saying A. Let's see if it is correct or not. I'll have to see. I'll not give you answers, right now. Okay. A, blue-green algae. You people are saying. Can you give me another name for blue-green algae, everyone? Can you tell me another name for blue-green algae? Definitely, I'll wait for your answer. Blue-green algae. Wonderful. Very nice. It's also known as cyanobacteria. Perfect, all of you. It's also known as cyanobacteria. And it's a characteristic feature of cycas group. Okay, it's not a single plant, but it's a whole group. Okay, right. So all those plants which are there. So this is Cycas is basically what? Which phylum of plant kingdom? Everyone. Cycas belongs to which group of plant kingdom? Bryophyte, Pteridophyte, Gymnosperm, Angiosperms. It's a gymnosperm. Fantastic. Okay. It's a gymnosperm. Okay. And normally we divide gymnosperm into two broad categories, cycas and pinus. Cycadales and your coniferous. Fine. All right. So psychedels or psychodopsida, as you said. Okay, fine. So this is a broad category, and every one of them is characterized with having a coralloid root because there is presence of blue-green algae, a cyanobacteria. It's again a beautiful symbiotic relationship, everyone. It's a symbiotic relationship. They are helping each other in their life cycle, in their growth, in their development. Right, everyone. So here once again, that's a very beautiful question of symbiotic relationship. So do remember, Cycas has or Cycas root has a symbiotic relationship with blue-green algae. So what happens that that the plant, the Cycas, gives them carbon source, where on the other hand, in response, these blue-green algae are fixing nitrogen for them. That's a beautiful relationship that they have. Clear, all of you? Great. So I think this is a pretty easy question. Why I introduced this? Because it's a common question that usually asked in examinations. So you should remember where you find coralloid roots. Okay, and it look like corals. That you know about corals. Okay, it's studied in animal. The roots look like corals. Okay, and from there this name has been derived, coralloid roots. Okay, now let's move further. This is a really interesting or very important concept of pteridophyte, all of you. Okay, in pteridophytes, this is one of the very important concept. And from that question, which one of the following is heterosporous? A. Equisetum, B. Dryopteris, C. Salvinia, and D. Adiantum. Right, all of you. Which one of the following is heterosporous? And Meghna said it's C. People said A, Shagun said C. Okay. Nagma, Gurpreet, Pradeep. Okay. Pradeep said A. Okay. Now people saying more towards C than A. Okay. That's great. Okay, everyone. This is a very common question from pteridophyte. And I want to tell you one characteristic of pteridophyte, that in whole plant kingdom, first of all, this is an irony. Though we say pteridophytes do not produce seed, but when there is a question, another question is asked: where in the evolution of plants does the seed habits develop? In overall the evolution of plant, where does the seed habit develop? It's there in pteridophytes. The habit developed, but they didn't start producing seeds. Are you able to understand? Okay, this question has another question, that where the seed habit develops. So I'll write it here. Okay, seed habit. Where does the seed habit develop? It develops in pteridophytes. The reason being, they have two types of spores. That's the that's because this earlier, if you see bryophytes, okay, they have same types of spore, and that's why they are called as homosporous. That's why they are called as homosporous. So when the spores combine, okay, they form a gametophyte. Right, everyone, you agreeing with me? In pteridophyte, they form two different kinds of spores. Not very different. What's the difference? They are morphologically different. Some smaller, another one is bigger. That you said micro and megaspore. The same habit will go and reach till angiosperm. Your micro, sporophyte will become your male gamete, or will form your male gamete, and your mega sporophile will make your female gamete. And thus, because of combination of these two gametes, you form seed, microspore or megaspore, right, all of you? So the first time heterospory develop into pteridophytes, and that's why we say seed habit develop here, not seed. Okay, do understand the difference. Sometimes people do mistake in here. They take gymnosperm because seed first formed there, but seed habit they are asking, not asking seed. Okay, so I have talked about another question. Okay, I've talked about another question. Now come back to the main question here. The answer here is absolutely right, as you people said. The heterospory developed in Salvinia. Okay, heterospory. The heterosporous plant is basically Salvinia, because Equisetum, Dryopteris, Adiantum, they all are homosporous. Okay, so basically I'll give you a simple idea here to remember. Okay, right. Usually I remember it through a single word. I call it leopard, or just a second, everyone. Okay, I usually call it leopard. Can you see? Leopard. Okay. L4, lycopodium. Right? E4, equisetum. Right, everyone? Your P4, shall I write it here? Okay, it's pteridium. Right? And D4, Dryopteris. So I can make this A only. Okay. Leopard. Okay. From this word, you can remember all the homosporous pteridophytes. Right? L4, lycopodium, E4, equisetum, P4, pteridium, and D4, Dryopteris. Okay, these four you consider as homosporous, and rest, all of them will be these four are homosporous. Rest of them, okay, will be heterosporous, right? And in this case, if you can say equisetum, Dryopteris, Adiantum, okay, the one which is not there, it's Salvinia. Okay, and oh, that's, I missed a hair. Okay, you can write Adiantum here. Okay, all of you. Great, great. So I hope so. From this question, you have understood two questions. Okay. And perfect. I'll just write it clear so that it will be clear for all of you. This one. Okay. Now let's move on to the next question, all of you. Next question says the gametophyte is not an independent free living generation in A. Adiantum, B. Markensia, C. Pinus, and D. Polytrichum. Yes, all of you. The gametophyte is not an independent free living generation in. Okay. And why Markensia? Why Markensia, everyone? Why? You people are saying B. Markensia, but why Markensia is the answer? Some people say C, Pinus. Why Pinus is the answer? Gametophyte can't be without sporophyte. In where? Where? Guess, all of you. Cause? Huh. I'm waiting for your cause here. See, if you remember, all of you, if you remember, first of all, about bryophyte. Okay. Bryophyte has this beautiful characteristic, once again, of that the sporophyte, right, is dependent on gametophyte. Right, all of you? In bryophyte, the sporophyte is dependent on gametophyte. Some of the cases you can call it as, then this is the property that I was trying to discuss with all of you. Okay. So I'll just do it a little up so that it will be clear to all of you. So everyone, in bryophyte, sporophyte is dependent on gametophyte. But if you see angiosperms, it's opposite. The main plant body is sporophyte. Right? Main plant body is sporophyte. And the gametophyte that is there in flower, okay, is completely dependent on sporophyte. So it is opposite here. Gametophyte is dependent on sporophyte. So evolutionarily, what happened that from, like, if you start from algae, the main plant body is gametophyte, everyone. It's N, it's haploid, right? Exactly. Then in bryophyte also, what happened? That the gametophyte turn out to be the main plant body. Okay, all of you. Now, the question asking you that the gametophyte is not an independent free living generation, where the gametophyte here is not independent. Now, if you talk about Markensia, it's a bryophyte. Yes or no? Markensia, is it a bryophyte or not? So you tell me that bryophyte is, if it is Markensia, and yes it is, so that means sporophyte is dependent on gametophyte. Okay, right? So Markensia shouldn't be the answer, because in Markensia, your gametophyte is free, is independent. Okay, what about Pinus? Pinus is a gymnosperm, all of you. Pinus is a gymnosperm. And here we see that when you move from bryophyte to the angiosperm, okay, when you move from bryophyte to angiosperm, the movement of plant body is towards sporophyte. That means the sporophyte is the main plant body, gametophyte is not. So that's the reason gametophyte is dependent upon sporophyte, and the answer is C, Pinus. So it can, the question can be asked here. Okay, the question can be asked here. This is a very simple thing. The gametophyte is not an independent free living generation. The other way to ask here, that in which of the plant the gametophyte is dependent on sporophyte. There's another way of asking. Yes, all of you, this is another way of asking. Okay, everyone. So that's the answer. That's your answer. Polytrichum, as somebody asked me, polytrichum is also you consider as bryophyte, and polytrichum is especially a moss. Okay, it's a moss, everyone. This is also a moss. Okay, right. So ready for the next question? Yeah, I feel you are. So let's move ahead. And here it is. Somebody says Spinus is Pteridophyte. No, Pinus is Gymnosperm. Cycus, Pinus. These are the two, best example of Gymnosperms, right? So Pinus, Cycus. Pinus is a Gymnosperm, right? Okay. Sure, great. Let's move ahead with this new question. Now, which one of the following is considered important in development of seed habit? I actually gave you this answer, okay, in the very beginning, right? Can you give me this answer quickly, everyone? Perfect. Perfect, all of you. Now you people are talking and you people are giving absolutely correct answer. It's the heterospory, right? So I think now you can do these basic questions from this particular topic. Fantastic. Now let's move on to the next question, all of you. So here, another question that in the prothallus of vascular cryptogam, okay, the antherozoids and egg mature at different times. As a result, now this is a very, common sense question. If you understand a little bit about reproduction, okay, you can answer without knowing the intricacies of these topic. You can give the answer. Try and answer it. Okay, I got the very first answer as D. Ravi said C, and he changed it to B. Bhagishri saying D. Okay. Okay. So I think all of you are now saying D, and if I can see here, everyone, the antherozoids and egg matures at different times. Okay, this is a typical nature of plant to avoid self-fertilization. Okay, right. This is typical nature of plant. Those plant who do cross fertilization, and yes, the right and correct answer is D. Self-fertilization is prevented. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Next. Now here, another very important question, which talk about the characteristic of two broad categories of plant, conifers and grasses. Now, conifers differ from grasses in lack of xylem tracheids, absence of pollen tubes, formation of endosperm before fertilization, and production of seed from ovules. So first and foremost, you people tell me, what is conifer? What is a conifer? What's a conifer? Yeah, I know you people are giving answer. What's a conifer? Please feel free to ask your doubt. It's a gymnosperm. Absolutely right. Okay, right. It's a gymnosperm. And what are grasses? What are grasses, all of you? Grasses, apomixis. No, I'm just talking about which group they belong to. They belong to, like gymnosperm, they belong to, grasses belongs to monocot. That means your angiosperms, right? Absolutely. They belong to angiosperms. Perfect. Now, what are the characteristics between gymnosperm and angiosperm? How they are different to each other? Now, in this question, specifically asking you conifers, how gymnosperm differ from angiosperm. Now, this is the broad question. Okay, right. Though they have given you the example, they asked you the question in the example form, right? Exactly. Here, I have simplified the question for all of you. They are asking you the difference between a gymnosperm and an angiosperm. Right. Okay. So whenever you want to do this question, Usha, you asked your doubt, please. Whenever you want to do this kind of question, if you have an example, try to understand this particular example belongs to which category. Okay, and then try to think the answer. Now try and give your answer once again. So gymnosperm differ from grasses in they lack xylem tracheates? Is there an absence of pollen tube? Is the formation of endosperm before fertilization, or the production of seeds from ovules? What can be the answer here? Yes, everyone, come on. Some saying B, some saying A. Now I have got C as an answer, which I really liked it. Okay, right. So before telling you the correct answer, let me explain you. There are one of the biggest difference between a gymnosperm and an angiosperm. First difference, I told you that gymnosperm do not have ovary. They have their ovule is naked, so as their seed is also naked. This is the very first difference that I talked about in the beginning of the class, everyone. Right? Okay. The next, one of the biggest difference between a gymnosperm and an angiosperm is the difference in their endosperm. Why? Because there is a difference in their reproduction process. Now, to tell you, now most of you are there in 12th class. You have already studied about plant reproduction. Okay. If you understand, if you remember, in angiospermic plant, okay, in angiospermic plant, yes, you people are absolutely right. The answer is C. But let me explain you. Fine. In angiospermic plant, there is a characteristic fertilization that we call as double fertilization. Right, all of you? What is the double fertilization? Okay, the first one will form your seed. Okay, that is syngamy. And the second type of fertilization happens between a polar nuclei and another male gamete. That is a triple fusion, right? And because two types of fusion or two types of, you can say, interaction between or fusion of cells happening, we call it double fertilization. Now, that triple fusion when happened, and when the polar nuclei fuses with a male gamete, it forms endosperm. What it forms? An endosperm. Now, all of you, this endosperm, and this is one of the most important characteristic feature of angiosperm, is triploid. It's not haploid, it's not diploid, it's triploid. Right, all of you? It's triploid. Now, what happens in gymnosperms? Okay, what happens in gymnosperm? That the formation of endosperm happens before fertilization. The same way it forms the gamete, the female gamete, in that process only it forms the endosperm also. And that's the reason the endosperm is N in them. And this is the correct answer, C. Okay, so what's the difference? Endosperm, if you'll see, right? Endosperm, right? All right, just a second. I'll write endosperm here. Endosperm, angio, and gymno. So if we'll write there ploidy, the angio will become 3N and the gymno will become N. Remember this fact. Okay, fine. Remember this fact. And I'm moving on to your last question here for today's session. Cycas has two cotyledons, but not included in angiosperms because of A, naked ovules, B, seems like monocot, C, circinate tyxis, and D, compound leaves. Cycas has two cotyledons, but not included in angiosperms because of, this is the last question and it summarizes your whole chapter, because of naked seed. Right? Everyone, we were discussing about this from the beginning of the class. And yes, Here is the question, AIBMD 2001. A naked ovule, okay, and thus a naked seed without a fruit. Okay, right. So everyone, that's it from my side today. Okay, and I hope so you enjoyed this session. This completes your plant, and I know I have to teach you the life cycle, and that I'll definitely do. Okay, what you need to do now is prepare for your animal kingdom, right? So before the next class, kindly prepare, okay, and do some of the question from this particular chapter so that you will learn the concept that we have understood in today's class. Thank you all of you for attending the session, and I wish you good luck, good health. Bye bye, and take care all of you. See ya.